Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be going over the Russian T-50, which you may think it's like a modern tank, but it's not. You see, it's a little Russian light tank from World War II, early World War II. It never really went very much of anywhere, but anyways, let's get into it. If you could like and subscribe, that would boost the video algorithm wise, which would be very awesome sauce. And comment a cool obscure tank that I could do my next video on, because it's kind of hard to find these. I literally scroll through the War Thunder research tree and try and find something that sounds interesting. And if you can't think of any of those, just comment your favorite color. Any comment helps the algorithm. To start things off, the T-50 was a Soviet World War II light tank, which I already went over in the intro. The T-50 began at the end of another tank's lifespan. That tank was a T-26 and the BT-7, which I will refer you to an earlier video that I did a few months ago, last year, or later last year. But it should be at the top right if I can recall correctly. But once we're done with that, come back and finish this video with more context. But anyways, in the years leading up to World War II, the Soviets were left with an obsolete and very crappy light tanks with almost no armor, and, well, in the case of T-26, poor mobility. With the BT-5s and BT-7s, they were actually used probably longer than the T-50, with the BT-7M spanning until 1945. The only reason I know this is I played this one like off-brand Command and Conquer type game on the Xbox, and you could use like a BT-7M in the Battle of Berlin mission. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing to add in. In response to this reality of having bad tanks, the OKMO in 1939, or the OKMO is also the Experimental Design Mechanical Department. I think that's translated from Russian, so it kind of sounds a little bit weird. But in their development led to a prototype known as the T-126 or the T-127. Though the production would struggle to get off the ground due to outside circumstances, insert Operation Barbarossa picture, with this issue, there was only 69 tanks produced. As for the design, it generally resembled the T-34. The T-50 had about 37mm thick armor on the front plates and the side plates, and even the lower back, and last but not least, the turret. But for some odd reason, it has a 45mm plate on the lower front plate, which I thought was kinda odd, so I thought I'd add it as a note. And this little light tank was powered by an inline 6, according to Wikipedia, which was making around 300 buff horses. This power allows the tank to get up to a very optimistic 37 miles per hour, which I'm sure that is quite literally on perfect conditions, because I don't know a whole lot of tanks that would comfortably cruise at 37 miles per hour. That's not a modern tank, and even then, it would need quite a lot of work to do that. The only real downside to this tank was its weak gun, because it literally had the same gun as the BTs and the T-26s, which could be one of the contributing factors to why it never really got off the ground, because it wasn't a whole lot of an upgrade from the other two. Well, the T-26, yes it was, but the BT-7 makes up for its armor with its speed, and this thing is not as fast and doesn't have the no road wheels or no tracks capability that the BTs do. So I feel like at least putting like a 57 or something in there would be worthwhile to give it a little bit more of a punch and an infantry support role. That is what the Russians were really going for with this. Just like most prototypes and pre-production tanks in early to mid 1941, the Operation Barbarossa happened, and the Russians needed tanks because most T-34 and KV-1 production was not up to speed yet, seeing how they were put into service in 1939. And as most people that play Hoi 4 know, Soviet factories are not very fast at adjusting. But this led to all, or at least most, T-50s being pushed into service. The only specific combat reports, or combat at all, really, with a T-50 or T-50s being involved was the 488th Separate Tank Battalion deployed on the Transcaucasus Front in October of 1942 to January 1943. The battalion actively participated in battles in the northern Caucasus, and by February 1st, 1943, all T-50s were knocked out of combat, which didn't last very long, but they were also in 1943, so they were going up against long-barreled Panzer IVs and Tigers. Oh, probably not Tigers, but long-barreled Panzer IVs could definitely kill these. But before they actually went into service, they did receive an up-armored package, I guess you could call it, where on the front of the turret, on most of the pictures you can see of them, you can see like most Russian tanks, like the KV-1E and the T-34E, I'm pretty sure it's called, the up-armored Russian tanks with the bolt-on armor plates. You can see little bolting on extra armor for the T-50, which I thought was pretty cool, because in most pictures you don't really notice it, but you can see them, definitely. But another combat-related thing was that some of the T-50s were sent up to Finland in the continuation war, I'm pretty sure. And Finland captured one of them, apparently, because there's one in a Finnish factory, and it was used against Russia, or the Soviets at that point. I don't know why I keep on calling them Russia. But other than that, their whole infantry support role was kind of useless, with the whole armor part being taken up, and I guess the T-34 was just better overall. T-34 was almost just as fast and just as effective, with a better gun, better armor, more crew. And by 1943, it was just not worth building T-50s, I guess. And the whole infantry support role was taken up by the Su-76, which wasn't particularly good, but had a big gun, and it could resist against light arms, like 50 cals, or not, Germans didn't have 50 cals, but it could like stop mid-caliber rounds. But as it stands now, there is technically three T-50s left on the planet of Earth that are known of, because there could be one like some lake, you never know. But there's one in Kublinka, which I'll have up on screen now, and there's the mentioned Finnish one, which is in a museum. Funny enough, it lived. And then there's also one of the T-126s left in Kublinka too. So it's an interesting note. And with that, it pretty much wraps up the history of the Soviet T-50. Sorry, it's late. But I hope you guys are doing well. The channel the last video kind of flopped, not gonna lie. But I'm hoping to come back to making videos consistently. This will probably come out about Friday for me. But other than that, this week has been good so far. Kanye dropped. I dropped. This will be another drop. I think doing these shorter videos are kind of fun. I mean, this one's getting up to be almost 10 minutes, so I'm going to try and end it fast. But if you haven't already, like, subscribe, comment something. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.